Hello, beautiful person. I am so happy to be with you again. And today's day 9 of the 14-day challenge, and I am still talking about Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. I'm trying to figure out how to flip this screen, but I haven't figured it out yet. If you know, please do tell me. Also, happy Canada Day again, flipped. But anyway, happy Canada Day to all my fellow Canucks. And yeah, it's a little different from all the other Canada Days. But anyway, mindset. And today I wanted to continue with the chapter about relationships. So it's chapter 6. And yesterday I talked about how people can love someone who is more successful than they are. And that is basically by having a growth mindset and being willing to learn and grow and be genuinely happy for someone who is doing well and not feel judged and diminished by other people's success. So that's what I talked about yesterday. But the rest of the chapter, she talks about bullying. And in particular, she talks about things like school shootings, which this book came out in 2006. So at that time, the most shocking school shooting they'd had was Columbine, which now seems such a long time ago. I guess it was. Of course, we've had all sorts of other things happen in the meantime, but I think what she has to say is still very, very valid. So I do want to talk about it. So I'm just going to look at my notes here. I have made a Google Doc, which I just got all my notes in it. And if you would like to have access to this Google Doc so that you can see it yourself, then just drop me a message. I'll be happy to send it to you. Anyway, so she's talking about bullies and victims, and just coming back to talking about revenge, because you might recall yesterday we talked about how people with a fixed mindset, just a quick reminder, a fixed mindset is when you think that the traits that you have, your intelligence, your talent, everything you have and everything you can be is fixed and can't be changed. And people with a fixed mindset are, hi John, people with a fixed mindset are very scared of being judged because they think they can't get better. And the other thing is that they don't want to make any effort because they think if they have to work hard to achieve something, then that means that they're not very talented at it. And it's very important to people with a fixed mindset to be considered talented. And if you have a growth mindset, then, oh, hi Brenda. If you have a growth mindset, then you think that you can get better with effort, that your intelligence can improve, your talents can improve, your abilities, your skills. If you want something, you're willing to work hard for it. So that's a growth mindset. And in the context of rejection, which is, of course, the whole issue with bullying and the victims of bullying, in the case of rejection, like yesterday I was talking about rejection in romantic situations, and one of the things that she mentioned there was that people who have a fixed mindset, and when they were rejected by someone in a romantic situation, they had revenge fantasies. So I mentioned, like, she quotes somebody who says, if I had to choose between me being happy and him being miserable, I would choose him being miserable. To me, that makes no sense, but there it is. A lot of people are like that. So in the context, she returns to that in the context specifically of bullying, and she's mostly talking about bullying in schools, although of course bullying in workplaces is just as bad, except there it's adults. Here you're talking about children. It gets a little more complicated because you might not know what's going on. But so she says revenge revisited, and when she talks about school shootings, she says generally you will find when you have when the shooter is a fellow student, it's somebody who has been bullied for years. So we're not talking here about about justifying, God forbid, any sort of school shooting. She's just looking at the reasons that somebody might go that way, and she brings in the whole fixed mindset, growth mindset concepts to help explain it and also possibly head it off at the pass in the future. Although I have to say, like I said, this book came out in 2006. There's still been plenty of school shootings, unfortunately, in our neighbor to the south. But, and even here in Canada, there's been one or two, which is shocking enough. So anyway, so she talks about bullying. Bullying is about judging. It's about establishing who is more worthy or important, who's in, who's out. More powerful kids are judging less powerful kids, and they gain social status by putting them down. If the school has that kind of culture where this is allowed to run rampant, and in a little bit I'm going to talk about some of the things that people can do. I know that the school that my kids went to, thank goodness, had a very strong anti-bullying program in place, so some things have definitely improved since 2006. But she's talking about that the fixed mindset is very likely to be something that you have with bullies, because she says that there's a big dose of fixed mindset in bullies because they think some people are superior, some people are inferior. Obviously, they are the judges of who is superior, who is inferior. So very much a fixed mindset. And you can also have a fixed mindset in the victims when they feel deeply judged by a rejection. I'm quoting her here. Their impulse is to feel bad about themselves and lash out in bitterness, like the woman who would rather have her ex be unhappy than her be happy. So if the victim has a fixed mindset and all they can feel is that they've been judged and reduced and they wish to get back, they might have violent fantasies of revenge, and God forbid they might carry them out. So they did an experiment with 8th graders, and they gave them a scenario about bullying, and they asked them to imagine that happened to them. And those with a fixed mindset took it all very personally, and they said things like, hold on, I didn't write that down word for word. They said, I would think I was a nobody and that nobody likes me, or I would think that I was stupid and weird and a misfit. Then they would want violent revenge, saying they'd explode with rage at them, punch their faces in, or run them over. They strongly agreed with the statement, my number one goal would be to get revenge. And then she references the Columbine shooters who for a few hours had the power to choose who would live and who would die. And the thing is, the point that Dweck is making is that when we hear about school violence, we think that these must be bad kids, they're crazy, they're sick, they're some kind of monster. But her research shows that normal kids can be pushed down that road. And then in the same research, kids who had a growth mindset, when they were asked, first of all, they didn't take it as personally. Secondly, their response was to try and think of ways to educate the bullies and try and make them better people. And she remarks that she doesn't know whether they're actually going to be successful with actual bullies, but the point is that that's what they wanted to do, was to make the bullies better people. And then she refers to Stan Davis, who's a therapist and a school counselor, and he's one of the people who developed the anti-bullying programs that we see today, thank goodness, in so many schools. And what it does, she says, it helps bullies change, it supports victims, and it empowers bystanders to come to a victim's aid. And he also works on the bullies. He doesn't give up on them. He doesn't attack their traits or tell them that they're terrible people. He treats them with respect when their behavior is worthy of respect, but he doesn't attack the person. He praises effort, not the person. And she quotes here, I see you are staying out of fights. That tells me you are working on getting along with people. So trying to lead them into a growth mindset so that even if the change wasn't intentional, they like the praise, so they may now try and make it intentional. And then she finishes this chapter by referring to the Columbine school shooters were referred to as misfits. And she says it's true, they didn't fit in, but the bullies aren't referred to as misfits because they fit right in and they define and rule the school culture. And that is just such a terrible thing. But and she refers to Chaim Ginot, who's a child psychologist, and he also shows that teachers can point bullies away from judgment and towards improvement and compassion. And so what I really like about this book, and I haven't mentioned it in the other videos yet, is that she ends up with a section called Grow Your Mindset. And then she gives exercises for people to work on their mindset. She says, like in this one, she has, after a rejection, do you feel judged, bitter, and vengeful? Or do you feel hurt, but hopeful of forgiving, learning, and moving on? And then she goes from there, giving people exercises and teaching them how to improve and have a growth mindset, because life is so much better that way. So, yeah, that's all the time I have right now. I just wanted to, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about chapter 7, which has more more things about how parents and teachers and coaches can help with this growth mindset. And that's all I have right now. And as I mentioned, I have this Google Doc that I'm working on with my notes and thoughts from this book. If you would like access to this Google Doc to help you with your growth mindset, or maybe somebody else that you are trying to help, drop me a message. I would love to share it with you. So you have a great day. Remember, I love you. Yeah, hi Robin, it is a great book. Talk to you again soon. Bye.